morning, I'm Stan Gurka and welcome you to our Business Ambassador Show today. And our guest this morning is Amanda Smith from the Hamilton County Parks, and I think you'll learn a lot of interesting things about our parks. I'm pretty excited, and you might wonder where we are on this cool day, this beautiful bridge. I'll let Amanda tell us about that.
All right, well, thanks for having me. We're excited to be here. We are along the new bridge, historic bridges that are connecting now, White River Campground and Strawtown Kotewee Park in the Cicero, Strawtown, north of Noblesville area. We just had our grand opening last week, and this will now be a really great connection for visitors both to the campground and then also from Strawtown Kotewee Park into the campground to learn about the fabulous campground that we have as well. But currently, people staying at the campground, which is an extremely busy and very popular campground, have not had a way unless they get in their car and drive, across the White River to Strawtown Kotewee Park.
Oh.
So this will be a really great link to link these two parks together.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and it's two historic railroad truss bridges that has been about a 20-year project.
Wow.
Lots of funding and permitting and all of that, but they're finally up and they look great.
Well, did the bridges have rail across them previously?
Yes, and they weren't Hamilton County bridges. One was from Washington County and one was from Wayne County. And so they've been in states of disassembled in the county now for several years while we've been working on engineering and all of the plans necessary to get them in place. So,
well, that's quite a project. We see
it's
quite a beautiful bridge. It'd be
is.
nice for a walk today.
It does, yeah. I would invite anyone out there.
Yeah. Well, now that the weather's gotten cold, do people still go to the parks?
They do. A lot of people come to our parks. We have two facilities that are open 7 days a week through the winter, including Cool Creek Nature Center at Cool Creek Park, and then also the Taylor Center of Natural History, which is in Strawtown Kotewee Park, would be that way. Our numbers obviously drop sometimes. Our attendance goes down, but we're open. We have a lot of programming that goes on at both facilities. We see a lot of, especially young families with preschoolers and things that are kind of stuck inside a lot, and so they'll come out a lot of times during the day and kind of get the kids out and running around. They're both free to get into. Our parks are free to get into, and then the Nature Center and the Taylor Center, there's no attendance fee to get in there, so we'll offer crafts and activities. We're doing activities during winter break for kids that are home, live animal presenters and things through the week,
really?
And again, there's no charge for those, and just trying to get people out and about, and not every day is horrible, and we keep the sidewalk shoveled, and you can get in. But the Nature Center would be a great option for that. And then we lead a lot of outdoor hikes too. I mean, we do bird hikes throughout the year, including in the wintertime. And bird watching in the winter, if you're dressed appropriately, can be a really excellent time to bird watch. There are a few birds actually that migrate to us. We're kind of their Florida in the wintertime. And so juncos and brown creepers and some neat birds. But then, our old standbys, the cardinals and the chickadees and a lot of the woodpeckers, they're surviving the winter in really harsh conditions, and I'm always amazed to see them. So it's a good time. If you're interested in bird watching, it's also another good time to get out there, I'd say.
And if you're lazy and not adventurous, you can go to the Cool Creek Center with big glass windows.
Right, you don't have to go very far. In fact, most of our hikes end inside. We joke that we could probably, if we had just been inside the whole time, we'd seen more birds at the window at the wildlife viewing area than we would have going out. But
it's not as exciting.
It gets your blood rate up a little bit, heart rate, and it's fun. So
I know we've taken our grandkids there, and they just love it. They love seeing the different animals.
That's great. We have several live animals there, mostly turtles, reptiles and amphibians. We have a large tortoise named Chumley, who is he's a sulcata tortoise. Originally, at some point, they come from Africa. He was probably bred here locally, but he was actually found walking along a busy road in Broad Ripple in 2003, I think, and ended up at our building, and so we have him. He's that's the third largest land tortoise on the planet. Sulcatas are. So
how big is he?
Right now he's about 27 pounds, and he's Yeah, he's getting
Wow,
heavy.
yeah.
But eventually, your grandkids, or their kids might be able to ride on the back of him. Not that we'll probably do that, but he's a big draw. People come in just to see this tortoise. He's kind of a diva in regards to what we have to do for him and how to care for him. But I almost said we're stuck with him, but we have him, and he's quite the draw for the nature center. So. And I take him out occasionally to programs. While he's still small enough I do a program every month at the Juvenile Detention Center, and he normally gets out there and gets to meet the kids there. And we have several neat turtles, though, and several native turtles. We really try to, at the Nature Center, focus on native animals in Indiana. The idea being that most people tend to know more about animals from other continents than we know about animals that live in our own backyard, and that's good programming like the Animal Planet and Nat Geo and things. But too many people come in with they're scared of nature, or they're just unsure of what to do. So we're a resource for them to try to find ways to coexist with people or with animals, and then also think of their yard as habitat, and not be as fearful of wildlife and nature in general. So
Well, that's great. With our busy society, it's nice to have that retreat. Now, I think we said before, there's a number of things you do outdoors throughout the winter. Did you say maple sugar?
yeah, so we do a program generally, and it depends on how the season's going to run. And we had that really early spring a couple years ago, but generally maple syrup time is around the thaw, and when it starts to thaw. So that's generally in Indiana, in our part, about February, the end of February. So we schedule a program at the Bray Family Homestead Park, which is a park that most people may not know about. It's located north in the northern part of Westfield, and it's off of State Road 38 and Hinkle Road. And this park, it's 92 acres, so it's comparable actually to Cool Creek Park in size. It's currently, a lot of it's still farmed. It was donated in 2007 completely by the daughters of Dr. Malcolm Bray and Mary Bray, who are very well known in the county, and did a lot at Riverview Hospital. They're both girls married and moved out of state, and when their parents had passed, they wanted to do something a little different, and really wanted a legacy, I think, for their parents as well. So they donated the park to us. Dr. Bray, including his father and his grandfather, produce maple syrup on the property, and there's some gorgeous sugar maple trees that are behind the old house, which is no longer there. My estimation is one of the sugar maples maybe 300 years old. So this was a tree that was tapped by those early Quakers, those Bray Quakers that were moving into the area, into Westfield in the 1830s and 1840s. So we tapped that tree along with other younger maple trees, and so we do a program. It's Saturday, March 4th, and we'll actually be programming out there ahead of that for homeschoolers and some senior groups that come out. And it's really been picking up steam, steam, kind of a funny word there, pun intended. But so we'll talk about how sugar maple or syruping was an important pastime both for Native Americans, which actually didn't normally keep the syrup so much. Syrup would have been hard for them to store, but they'd boil it down into sugar. And then early colonial families like the Brays, the Bray family was interesting, along with a lot of families in Westfield, moved into the area, and they settled Westfield. They were Quakers, and so they were very anti-slavery. Most of them moved from Kentucky around the time that we became a state in 1816, along with the Lincoln family, had this same migration route. They were not slave owners, and living in the South, they wanted to even get away from what they called the slave economy. And so they moved into Indiana after it became a state. The Brays actually technically moved in before statehood was announced, and in order to get away from that. And maple sugar was an interesting resource for them because white sugar, cane sugar, was being produced by slaves, so they called it free man sugar, and really wanted to make as much maple sugar so they didn't have to buy the cane slave-made sugar. So we tell that story. We'll show you the process of evaporation and all of that, and then eventually you'll get to what we call the sugar shop, and that's where you can actually taste what the with the syrup, the corn syrup that we buy. A lot of people buy the cheap stuff in the stores.
Yeah.
Aunt Jemima and all that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I grew up with her. I love
Sure.
her. But now that I know the real difference, I spend the money on the real maple syrup. But and then you'll get real maple syrup and learn about the grading and some of the products. So it's a great program, and it's a free program.
Yeah.
Our county residents, we pay a tax to live here, and some of that money goes towards parks. So you're paying for those services already, and we really recommend that they start taking advantage, if they don't already, of some of the great parks and programming that we have. So
Sounds like a great use of our tax dollars. Now,
Well,
can
I
you
hope
actually
so.
buy maple syrup there?
and we are not producing the amount that would allow us to sell it at
Okay.
this point.
But you get a taste.
Yes, you get a taste, and then we
Okay.
have local providers in Indiana that we normally will contract with. They'll come in and sell their local source for it. So, and this year I think we're looking to have an actual person there with their stuff. Before we've just bought it and then sold it back or
Uh-huh.
sold it. So it's becoming more of a festival, really. It'll be from 10 to 4 all day. The tour takes only about an hour and a half. So we'll just be running kind of an open house going on that Saturday, March 4th.
March 4th. Okay. So we don't have to go to Vermont or Brown
Nope.
County.
No, or Canada. They're the largest
Yeah.
producers of it. But
Sure.
I love it. They call most of what we buy from the store, the corn syrup product, they call it pole sap, because they say that it tastes about as good as if you tapped a telephone pole and drank what came out of it. So I love that scenario there. But Indiana does all right. We make some really good maple syrup. So
Cool.
and hopefully the season falls the way it should, and we're not just boiling water, but which has happened a couple times. So.
Well, we looked at this Chatterbox magazine, and there's a few other events that are coming
There are
up.
a lot.
Can you tell us how we can get this information
Sure.
online?
We put out our newsletter 3 times a year, and it has all the parks are listed. We have 12 open parks that you can go visit today in some cases. Our campground did just recently close for the season, but so you can find out where our Hamilton County parks are. Of course, Noblesville has their own parks department. Carmel has a great parks department. So we're blessed in Hamilton County to have so many different departments to visit, but this is Hamilton County. And then all of our programming and some news and things is in here. So we do a big art show in February at Cool Creek Nature Center called Nature's Inspirations, and it's for fine artists, painters, drawers, and then also sculptors and other folks that do 3D art, and then also photography. So it's a multimedia show, and it's a really great time of year to come in the Nature Center and just look at some beautiful photos. They're not all from Indiana. They're not all from Hamilton County even. We have both professional and amateur photographers that enter the show, some that go to all across the country and really the globe to get some fantastic photos of things. But there's a public or a People's Choice Award, and then we do have a jury that will give out first and second place for artists. But mostly I love it because it really exposes kids and families
Sure.
that come into that to art and what art looks like to them. And I find it fascinating to see, through the lens of someone who looks at nature maybe similarly than I do, but also I learn a lot. So it's a really great event.
My wife and I always enjoy going there because you've got great art and you've also got, like you said, great beginners, the amateurs. So that gives us a chance, and it gives them the opportunity to present their work
Absolutely.
and grow on it.
We have professional artists, and then there are we don't really market it to the high school and younger, but we do have a few artists that will come in, and we had I think a 7th grader last year in the show, and I told people, you'd be hard pressed to pick this kid out in this group. And we've had some high schoolers that have joined it as well. So it's a really cool event, and there is a small fee to get in. It's to put in artwork. It's you can put in 2 pieces for $20, and then you can sell your work too, so that and that's actually good for your viewers to know that if you're interested in nature art, you can come and actually buy art from there as well.
Now, so this artwork would be framed Ready to hang,
ready to
sell.
hang and frame. Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
Cool.
Yep. And because it's open to the public, a lot of people sometimes will just do the open canvas kind of stuff, and I warn them that you've got little kids that loved and
Yeah,
adults that love to
yeah.
touch, so I prefer it under glass. But that's a neat program
good
that's going
point,
on.
yeah.
It's in the rules, but we don't always make that happen. And then, or if somebody comes in without it, then we'll do that. We do have a winter solstice event too.
Uh-huh.
So on
Let's see.
December 21st, we have a solstice event at Strawtown Kotewi Park at the Taylor Center. And there's so many great history with solstice, celebrations, and you can look at some pagan examples of that. But it's really, really interesting. And so our Taylor Center staff has put together. This will be our second year for it, and I'm really proud of this program. It's a very cool event. It falls on a Wednesday this year at 4 p.m. So we'll be around a campfire at sunset, and just really kind of getting into to the winter snuggly feeling together. So that's another program that we have coming up. I mentioned our hikes, and we do have programming for kids that are on winter break during that time. Groundhog Day is also at this time of year coming up. So it's a perfect event for us because we're dealing with a native critter, and we don't disturb them from their sleep. Actually, groundhogs are fascinating. They're one of our only true hibernators in Indiana. So squirrels and raccoons and other animals don't technically hibernate. They will stay asleep during the really coldest days of the year. But if it's comfortable, they'll be up and out. Groundhogs, though, on the other hand, are true hibernators. So when you see them super fat right now, that's in order to actually make it completely through the winter. And so we'll talk about why we have this day of about groundhogs, and it's a fun event as well.
Do we have one in the parks that we rely on to see what the weather's going to be?
No, we exactly. We don't have our own Puxatani, and in fact, in Puxatani, that's not a wild groundhog by any means. I think didn't he bite somebody last year too? But our real groundhogs are not coming out during that time. I mean, they're really hunkered down. So we'll talk about why this holiday is sort of funny, and especially here in Central Indiana. But the whole shadow thing is always fun to watch. But
wow, and we've only barely touched. Is there anything else you want to highlight before
we have the daddy-daughter dance, which is a lot of fun. This is around Valentine's Day. We have a dance for fathers and daughters to come out and do a little dancing right around Valentine's Day. And then just, I guess, overall, the Nature Center itself, we have a lot of preschool programs, homeschool programs. There's a very large homeschool contingency here in Hamilton County, so we're programming for them as well, and doing a lot of programs there related to that. But then the Nature Center is open 7 days a week, so you can come in, you can learn about. We'll have an exhibit all about winter and snowflakes and snowfall and all kinds of fun stuff. So, and then just we always do a craft, and we always have activities, but we do story times. There's a lot to do, and it's just a matter of finding us. And you can go to our website and find all the information. You can also apply, or not apply so much, but request one of the newsletters through there. You can get that via email, or you can get it mailed to you. You can come into the Nature Center or any of our park facilities, and normally there's some on display that you can grab as well. So,
and that website is down here on the bottom.
Great.
HamiltonCountyParks.com.
Yep.
Wow. Who knew there was so much to do? And
Well,
I'm sure you've got a lot more
There's a lot.
than we've talked about.
There's a
So
lot.
I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
And the parks are such a valuable asset that we have
That's
in
great.
Indiana, especially Hamilton County.
Thank
You're
you.
doing a bang-up job.
Thank
of
you
getting
so
everything,
much. Well, we're hopeful
just
that
whatever our interests are.
That's right. Well, we hope to offer something to everybody, whether you want to go on a hike or want to stay indoors and learn a little bit. There is something hopefully for everyone. So
Great. So, okay, well, before we cut out, I just want to remind anybody that is interested in business, there are two opportunities this week. There's a Noblesville Marketing Group, which Jim has been a part of for many years, for business owners that want to meet others, 20 to 30 people. It's 7 a.m. at Jim Dandy's, and then at 9 o'clock at the First Merchants Bank in Westfield on Cary Road and 32 diagonal from CVS and Walgreens. We meet from 9 till about 11, and it's more of a mastermind marketing group. So, anybody's invited. There's no charge, just like the parks. It's free fun.
Yay.
So, well, I thank you all
How
for
do they get a hold of
visiting.
you, Stan?
I'm sorry?
How do they get a hold of you?
Oh, the easiest way to get a hold of me is my cell. Excuse me. 317-374-1021. 37410. It's also right down here. That's over there. Well, thank you all for being with us. It's been a great guest, and you have a great week.
Thank you.